Hello again, welcome back to another video. Today, unusually for me, we're actually looking at an autofocus camera, and this is a relative youngster for the channel. This is the Canon EOS 500N, which I think in the North America market was called the EOS G, and something like the kit in Japan. I'm not quite sure. This is a European version because obviously I'm in the UK. This was introduced in 1996 by Canon. It is a 35mm SLR, but this one features the EF mount. So I've got quite a fairly modern lens on this actually. I've got the 50mm 1.8, the nifty 50, but this is the STM version, which is more appropriate for video, which obviously this camera doesn't shoot, it's a film camera. But this lens will fit on there and work. Any EF lens on any EF body, no compatibility issues at all. Makes it quite nice and easy, and I do have quite a lot of L series glass, so I can use it on digital as well as on film cameras. Plastic construction, very lightweight. This is the lens release button here. You just push that in anti-clockwise and remove the lens. It's a bayonet mount, very light. I think it weighs in at just under 400 grams, so it's a very light camera. It is electronic. It does rely on batteries, which is maybe a bit of a downside to it, but it's quite fully featured. And if you shot with a digital SLR, particularly a Canon one, this one will be very familiar to you and probably quite an easy transition. And you can get away with using the same lenses as you're using not EFS lenses. Unfortunately, those don't work on full frame. You'll notice there is no white dot to line up to. But EF lenses, the full frame lenses, will work fine on this. It's powered by two batteries that live underneath this cover over here. And it takes two of these, they call them 123 batteries, aren't they, these ones? Yeah, two of the 123 batteries that just slot into here, and you can see it's marked on the cover there which way they go in. So that one goes in positive up, that one goes in positive down. Quite big chunky batteries. The battery door is incredibly flimsy. It's another area where there could be issues. So if you're looking at getting hold of one of these or find one of these, check the battery doors on them, because they are incredibly flimsy. On the bottom we don't have anything else really apart from a tripod bush. I think there is a battery pack that will fit on the bottom of these, but I've not got one. Available in black, or this black and silver kind of finish. But yeah, quite nice. So lens release. This up here is a autofocus assist lamp, so that it will, if it's struggling to get autofocus in a dim situation, it will flash this light and use that for focusing. It's also, I think, a countdown for the self-timer as well. This one has that age-old problem of sticky grips. This grip is starting to turn quite sticky. It's not too bad, but you can feel that it is getting sticky, which is just an aging of the plastic, or I don't think it's rubber, but so you can fix that with a bit of talcum powder. I've never really tried that, but I have read that it's possible to dust it with talcum powder and sort of dry it out. On this side we have a release connector for the cable release. By this time they'd sussed out why not sell cable releases, and rather than using a universal one, we'll try and sell you a electronic one. Top of the camera is that's the off position when that dial's in the L, so it doesn't really display anything. We have a shutter release button. We have a command dial, which is pretty common on a lot of cameras now. Got a couple of lug straps. This one's placement seems a bit odd to me. I would have thought it would have been there, but okay. LCD display, a list of functions down the side. We've got things like red eye reduction, a beep, because this camera can beep when things are in focus. You can enable and disable that. We have multiple exposures and also a degree of film transport, frame advance and what have you on this side. This also has a pop-up flash, although that will only pop up when the camera's turned on. So you can see there, it has a built-in little flash on the top. It's very plasticky. It is all basically a plastic construction. This is the main dial. So you've got lock, and like I say, if you've been shooting with a digital camera, this will be very familiar to you. The program, what they call time value, which is shutter priority, aperture value, aperture priority, manual. And these had this interesting A depth where it could work out the aperture. You'd focus on the furthest subject you wanted it to be sharp and the closest, and it would work out the aperture to give you the depth of field. ISO, pretty explanatory. You can set the ISO there, and I think it's a command dial to change it. So yeah, and it goes all the way down to 6 all the way through to 6400. So it's got a very wide range of apertures on it. And we've got a mid-roll rewind because this camera has electronic advance and electronic rewind. You don't have to do anything manually. And it also has scene modes as well. It has various scenes like macro and sport and that kind of stuff as well. Film plane indicator, hot shoe on the top. Obviously it takes some sort of dedicated flash gun, so you can work with that. We also have the rewind button and self timer, and this one works in conjunction with this screen. I can get this thing to focus still. So when it's turned on, you can see it displays exposure compensation at the bottom here, battery life, and the state of the battery in a visual form. And at the moment it thinks it's manual focus because there's no lens attached. If you push this button here, I find these buttons quite deeply recessed actually. So you've got things like, it works in the way of the ones and the zeros, like a lot of Canon and Nikon ones do. So 0 is off, 1 is on, and then you can push it again. So these buttons are quite deeply recessed, I think. And the same for this one, 0 and 1. And then the same with these, you can put in what you want to put in, and it goes away after 6 seconds. Just goes back to the normal sort of reading. And the top one is a battery check, 3 bars, so full batteries. Yep, very plain and simple to use. Like I say, if you use a DSLR, this will all be second knowledge to you. It'll be very easy to understand. There's an exposure lock function, and I think there's something here to do with this kind of metering as well, what I can remember. Now to attach a lens, and this is like a quick overview and a quick start guide. Attach a lens to it, and then you can go into program mode, and it will tell you the selected shutter speed and the aperture. So that's 1,000th at f8. And it will also tell you when it's in focus. I think the beep's been turned off on this one, but yeah, normally they beep when they're in focus, but you can turn the beep off because it can be quite irritating. To load the camera, open the back up on this side as a catch. Just pop it up. There you can see the inside. Vertical travelling metal leaf shutter, or metal blade shutter rather. A leaf shutter is more in the lens. So sync speed I think is a 90th on these. You can see it is all plastic construction. but it's fairly good quality. You know, these cameras are what, maybe 25 years old, so it's in pretty good condition. Pressure plate, got a little window in the back so you can see if it's loaded with film, which is quite handy. It's got the quick load mechanism, and it's also got DX coding. You can see here, as stated earlier, you can adjust the ISO rating on the top there, so it's not DX only, and you can use film cassettes that haven't got a DX coding if you wind your own, for example. This is a non-DX coded reloadable bulk load film, so that just slots into there. No pulling up of levers or anything. That you just pull it across until it lines up with the orange on this side. The lighting's strange today. This camera's not liking to focus, so that's going to be far enough in. Should be. Close the back, turn it on. And you think, what's going on there? The way this camera works is it winds all the unexposed film across to this side, and then when you take a picture, it winds it back into the canister. The big advantage of that is that if you happen to open the back, you don't lose all the pictures you've already taken, because they're safely stored back in the light tight container. You will ruin the rest of the film, but it's quite a neat idea. And wind all the film out, and then as you expose it, wind it into the canister. So if I just push this down, that'll go down. So it's a countdown timer on this one, a frame counter on this one. And the film is now travelling that way, back into there. Quite clever idea, I think. That's locked, so that's the sort of general purpose kind of shooting. You don't have to worry about anything. For some reason it thinks it needs flash. ISO. Doesn't know what the ISO is, so that's what it's saying that for. The ISO of this film is actually 200. But it's negative film, so I want to overexpose it a little bit, so I put it on 160. And then come back round, put it on the green setting. I don't think you should need flash for this. So 750 is at 6.7. You can see there's a film loaded on there, and you can also see in the back, although you can't really see very well at the moment, there's a film loaded. It does display the aperture and the shutter speed in the viewfinder, very similar to a digital camera on the bottom there. Although you won't be able to see it. I tried this with the lenses off, and it seems to work a lot better with the lens off than with the lens on. So you can sort of see the display on the bottom. No, you can't see anything through there. But yeah, it displays the shutter speed and the aperture. It also gives you a flash ready light to let you know that the flash is charged, and it also little green dot to show that it's in focus. Auto manual focus in the EF system is selected on the lens. You'll see there's a little switch, AF and autofocus and manual focus. So if you want to focus manually, you can just flip that switch over and then use the ring to focus. Quite basic, but at the same time it's got all the features you'd need. Powered everything, autofocus, auto exposure, loads of modes, film transport. When it's turned off, you can see there's a film in it, a number of frames left, which is quite nice. So yeah, it's a pretty good little setup actually, and because it'll take all the EF lenses. I'm not sure whether IS works on these. I've never really had much experience of IS. I do have the wide angle, which is 16 to 35 f4 LIS, and I'd be interested to try that lens on here and see if that works. But the lens I'll predominantly be using it for, which seems a little bit crazy, is this 35 1.4L. The lens is worth a heck of a lot more than what the camera body is, and it weighs considerably more than the camera and that lens does. There's a lot of glass in this, but it's the lens that's responsible for the quality of the picture, not the camera body. So there's nothing wrong with putting a, I don't know what these sell for now, second hand. These are about £600, these lenses, aren't they? So the camera body was less than £20. All the camera body does is move the film, expose the film. So you want a decent shutter, some kind of decent metering, or you can always use an external meter. The lens is the important part, so I don't feel too bad about putting a £600 lens on a £20 camera body. That's the way it should be. Don't put a £20 lens on a £600 camera body. That doesn't make sense. So there you go, folks. That's the video for today. A bit more modern for me. Not metal, plastic, but quite well made. Plenty of these available. They're quite numerous. They're not expensive. Just watch out for the rubber grips and the battery doors. That seems to be the main issues with them. But yeah, highly recommended. I quite like the black and silver version. But yeah, another nice little cheap camera. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Comments, questions, queries, etc. down below as usual. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And any questions or queries I can help with about anything photographic, just drop me a note. I do have an email address, thephotographersbag@gmail.com, and I do have an Instagram channel as well, The Photographer's Bag. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.